Right, the main thing, for me about teaching pool is this class has to be interactive. And I encourage you all to ask questions throughout. Because I'm just one person, giving you my experience from almost 60 years of playing pool. But at the same time, I kind of evaluate a class on how much I learn too. It's amazing. There's a real wise pool player once told me, if you're not striving to get better, you're actually getting worse. So that, and I think about that. I'm 72. A lot of us are older here. You never stop learning this game. You really don't, because it's an incredible amount. Last night I was watching the pros in Wisconsin play, in a professional tournament, and some of the things they were doing were almost unbelievable how skilled they can be. I know last week I talked about brain surgery being comparable to playing pool. And I'm not trying to frustrate you into thinking it's so complicated and all that, but it is no way in the world that you could ever master this game. No way in the world. There's too much complication and challenge to it. When you watch a lot of players, and I've been teaching for a long time, they usually want to have some sort of firm grip on the back of the cue. And I think we learned last time that that's not a good thing. And the reason why that's the case, I'll kind of demonstrate it. Now, if I grab the cue in my meat of my hand and wrap my fingers around in a firm way, watch how the stroke moves. It doesn't even go back very far, does it? It only goes a short distance, because it's in the meat of my hand and my wrist does not flex. Okay? That's the key to a good stroke, is a cradling, very gentle grip on the cue. In fact, when I wrap my fingers around, really only the pointer finger and the middle finger actually contact the cue. These other two fingers are along for the ride. But you'll notice if my arm is dangling at a 90-degree line like this, and I have a nice loose grip, watch what happens when I take the cue back. What did you see there?
Your wrist.
The wrist hinged, didn't it? And that actually extended my backstroke. And again, when you take the cue back, you want to complete your backstroke, and you don't want to jerk it back. You want to take a nice, deliberate, rhythmic backstroke. So when it gets to the end of your backstroke, it has a gentle pause or slow down. That way, you're ready to let the cue go. And when we talk about the stroke itself, it's not about hitting it or forcing it or steering it. It's about releasing the cue. Once I take it all the way back here, it's a matter of letting momentum take over and letting the cue accelerate through without trying to muscle it or force it or steer it. Players often do this. They get under pressure in competition and they want to steer that cue, make it go right where they want it. That doesn't work because that's tension. That creates what we call the type of stroke that's forcing the shot rather than letting it happen. But that's a huge fundamental. And let me just demonstrate a few shots with that. In fact, I've got this table set up for a left-hander. Because Milty, I think, is our only left-hander in the class, right? All right.
I knew there was something wrong with it.
Yeah. All right.
But I'll shoot right-handed.
All right. And again, a quick review of the pre-shot routine, which we spent a lot of time on last time. But breathe and relax. Let it all out. Shoulders, neck, arms, everything. Visualize the shot. When I say visualize the shot, a lot of people don't really understand what that means. What that means is that you imagine a particular shot occurring. And the reason why we miss most of the time is because we're indecisive. We don't have a clear picture in our mind of what we want to do. Once you establish that clear picture of exactly what you want the cue ball to do and the object ball, you're much more likely to make it happen. Once I have that clear picture in mind, again, I'm going to find my aim point, draw that target line all the way back to my eyes, swing down. And that's a crucial point as I swing down, because down here I can tell right away as I start my warm-up strokes if I'm on or off. If I'm off, stand up and start over. Crucial fundamental, okay? If you're off, you should know it. And trust your eyes, because the hard work is done up above the shot. If I see the shot from up here and find my aim point and swing down, and you always step into the shot too. You don't want to hug the table, because I can't see as well from here, can I? I want to stand back a little bit so I can see the entire shot. And you'll notice, and this is one personal thing that I do, you might want to incorporate, but I use my cue like a crosshair on a telescopic sight. Okay? When I get ready to shoot, my cue is right on the target line. And as I step into it, it's falling right on that target, all the way down. And then warm-up strokes. But again, just to review, and jump in, ask questions. 90-degree line, and you want kind of what we call a pendulum stroke. Now, if you watch a pendulum of a clock, this is really interesting. When it swings back to the end of its backstroke, what does it do? It slows down. Now, why is that so important in a pull stroke? What do you think? Why must it swing back and just slow down slightly? What's your opinion?
To breathe.
Pardon?
To breathe.
Breathe. I like that. It's like it's alive.
Take a last breath.
To turn on the laser focus switch.
When you bring it back nice and slow and come to it, not a stop, but a gentle pause, it allows you to engage the follow-through in a rhythmic, gentle way without trying to hit. What happens if you go too fast, you jerk it back into the ball. But if you slow down just a little bit, it's rhythmic and smooth, okay? And that's really important. That's why when you watch all these great players on ESPN, on YouTube and all that, what's the quality that comes to your mind? It's effortless, isn't it? They look like, it's like smooth as glass. And you'll notice when they stroke, because they have a nice loose grip, when they swing it back, the cue stick stays level, doesn't it? It doesn't pop up in the air like sawing wood. Nice and level like that. And then as they go through, you'll notice that they don't grab onto the cue real tightly. They'll let the cue go through, all the way through. And that way you get more follow-through. So the cue actually slides back through your hand as you hinge it, and as you go through, it goes forward through your hand. That's because you have a nice, gentle grip. Probably the best description of the proper grip in pool is cradling the cue. Cradling. You know, almost as if you're caressing something. We won't get into that. Okay? All right, any questions about that so far?
One question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're grabbing the stick.
All right, that's going to vary on your height and your body type and all that. But one thing I do want to point out that's going to vary also by the shots you're shooting and how far you're stretching on the table and things like that. Now, let's say that I'm hitting a simple stop shot on the 12 ball. I don't need a lot of power, do I? All right? So I'm going to get a little closer, swing down, my bridge hand's going to be a little closer, and my hand will be further up the cue, right? Because I don't need a lot of power. So I have a nice, simple, short stroke like that. And I didn't need to extend my hand further back, did I? Because I didn't need a long, powerful stroke, okay? But let's say that I have a longer shot. Just put one right there from this distance. And I want to stop and play position for the one. This one, my hand's going to be a little further back because I need a longer, more powerful stroke. So as I swing down on the shot, my hand is further away, my hand in the back is a little further behind. Stay down. Now you notice, that's one of my flaws. You need to stay down to the wide to the back of the pocket. I have a flaw where I have a tendency to jump up too fast. And I've been working on that for 30 years. I haven't solved it yet. All right? But one of these days, that's what I'm saying. You got to keep striving to get better. All right? Does that answer your question, Chuck? Anything else about the stroke? I like getting your opinions, feedback. Jump in. Yeah, I see you got one, Mike.
I have a question?
Yeah.
I have 1,000 questions.
All right, no,
Where do I
jump in,
start?
man.
Well, actually he answered it on the grip. I almost never change my position on the stick. Almost.
You know, you don't even have to think about it. It's going to be automatic.
Yeah.
Because when you
I'm
have a
not
more
thinking.
powerful stroke required, you're going to naturally do that.
Yeah.
It's not like something, oh, I got to do this and move my hand there.
No.
Again, that's when you're playing in a tournament, when you're playing in league, playing your friend for money maybe. Don't start overthinking stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go with what you got. Because if you get up in your head thinking about every little detail, you're going to mess up. That's for drilling and for
Yeah.
practice.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
If you're going to think about all that stuff, do it when you're practicing, when you're doing
Exactly.
drills, rather than
exactly.
doing it when you're playing.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, what Milty just
Get
said there
lost.
is absolutely true. I see people do that in league
Yeah.
all the time. That's why you call it a pre-shot routine. It makes the shot routine. In other words, it's your comfort zone. You know, doing the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Just like Roger Federer serves a tennis ball. He does exactly the same thing every time. He has this beautiful pre-shot routine. And that'll be something that'll make your shots more routine as you get better at that.
There's one thing that
Yeah, go ahead.
one thing that I usually do when I'm getting ready for a tournament or something, just to play pool, I'll just get down and I'll look and I'll just sit here and do this. Make sure that
It's going straight.
make sure it's going straight.
Yeah.
And to warm your arm up too. You don't want to
Yeah.
just jump in and start hitting balls.
Excellent.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I got my routine. You all have your own routines. Pete has his.
Yeah, it's going to be
Chuck has
unique.
no routine.
But that, you know, that there are just a few things that all good players do. And number one is doing the hard work when you're up above the shot. You know, you see a lot of players that it never works to get down and then start moving around like that, because that throws everything off. Okay?
Yeah.
The other thing is you know, imagining and visualizing the shot you want to perform, and then finding that aim point. Those three things are critical to every pre-shot routine. Now, one thing I do when I drill occasionally, and we're going to look at stop shots, okay? Let me do it over here. This would be a good place to do it. Now, without a doubt, you know, you watch Joshua Filler, you watch Shane Van Boening, all the best players in the world. When they shoot most of their shots, they utilize stun or stop more than any other shot. And you'll notice they probably underuse English compared to what a lot of people think they should do. And when they do use English, it's always modified with little bits of English instead of extreme. But just to show you a few examples of how important the stop shot is, it not only gives you a powerful stroke, but it also teaches you to play really good position. Now you'll notice I have the 13 ball in the corner and I want to stop it. Let's say I want position for the 11 in the corner there. Now, again, this shot I don't have a great amount of distance, so I could hit it pretty much dead center, can I? I'll do my entire pre-shot routine, step into the shot, take a few warm-up strokes, and you notice I'm hitting about dead center, but I'm not taking a really long stroke. Nice, smooth. Stay down until you hear the ball in the back of the pocket. Don't be like me. Learn that now, okay? All right? Now, that's a very simple shot, but I want you to just remember the stroke I used on that one. Now I'm going to put the cue ball back here, all right? Now, what's different about when you have to stop the ball from a greater distance? What do you do different?
A little more,
Hit it harder?
a little more speed.
All right, all right. Is there any way that I could do something here so I don't have to hit it harder?
Go a little lower.
Now, why would that be to my advantage to go a little lower so I don't have to hit it so hard?
Make contact with people and then come back.
Come back.
Well, I don't really want it to come back. I'm playing position on the 11th. But why would I want to hit it lower so I could avoid hitting it harder? What would be the
Yeah, more control.
more control? And what about pocketing the ball?
Yep,
Are my chances of pocketing the ball better?
off at speed.
So one thing I want you all to learn from this class is that when you have a long shot like this, it's better to go a little below center so you don't have the power to hit it hard. And I want you to notice that I'm going to use the exact same stroke that I did from there. Swing down, my whole pre-shot routine. Instead of hitting there, on this one I'm going about a quarter inch lower. Pretty much the same speed, huh? And you notice because I had a greater distance, the ball kind of drifted forward a little bit. So this time I'm going to hit just a slight bit lower. But what's happening, so you know, is the ball is spinning backwards probably to here, and then it starts to slide. And when it hits the 5 ball, it will stop dead. Swing down. Nice warm-up stroke. These warm-up strokes are really important because they'll tell you if you're right on your line or not. Anyway, these are one of the shots I want you to practice. Okay. Oh, good.
That will show you that.
Yeah, Milty.
That will show you the spin it's putting in on.
In fact, this is the cue ball I have at home on my dining table. We call it the measle ball.
Yes.
And you have your own measle ball too,
Yeah,
right?
but
Yeah.
We
But
got 3 of them.
I want you to practice these stop shots.
should bring them
They're
in.
so important, and I want you to practice it from different distances. On the other tables, I have it set up to be a little simpler, not as far away. But again, if you can, really lock in that stroke so you can stop the cue ball from different distances, your game is going to improve exponentially. Because those are the shots you need to learn to become a better player. And again, you're getting a lot of good practice on shot making too. The other drill, that was drill number 1, and you can do that from any angle. You can work with your partner.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a point in time, distance, can
No, because there's no limit to how powerful somebody can stroke to a certain extent. Now you're talking about something from here. Now if I was shooting a stop shot from this distance, I was actually practicing this shot earlier, I would bring my cue tip all the way down to the bottom. Because by the time the cue ball gets here, a lot of that backspin will be gone, all right? So the farther away you are, the lower you go. And that way you don't have to hit it so hard. If I shot this ball with center ball and tried to stop it, I'd have to hit it at warp speed, right? But you'll notice I don't have to really hit this so hard. And I did that fairly easy, but I had a lot of backspin on it. Thanks for the measle ball. Now the other drill that I want you to have fun with today is, and you've all seen this before because a lot of you have taken my classes. We'll just put a bunch of balls in a row here. And I still do this drill, and I've been playing for a lot of years. But I want you to begin with a simple stop shot, a straight in. And you notice one thing that you can do to help you on this shot is you want to align either a cue or a piece of plastic to that point of the pocket on the right there and the point of the pocket here. because it gives you an idea of exactly how to find your line. And you'll notice it comes perfectly to this point, and that one goes to that point. It's just a kind of way of, you know, verifying your line. But again, practice your pre-shot routine. And maybe start with a few stop shots, real simple. So not much stroke, yeah. And then once you got that down, you practice that, and the cue ball stays pretty well right behind the ball. Then I want you to practice following to the 8 ball, the 11 ball, to the 3 ball. Now for following, you simply raise the bridge. You don't elevate the back end. So when I swing down like this, I simply go up top like this, but I never do this. Why don't I elevate the back end? Why is that so bad? Yeah, if I elevate the back end, it also is a problem. If you hit the top of the ball, off one way or the other, it's going to make a curve or not. So when you're deciding what to do, I want to follow this to the 3 ball. When I take my stance, I'm seeing it, but I'm just raising my bridge to the top like this. But I'm taking a nice level stroke.
No, you did not. No, you're fine.
And I want you to practice, you know, trying to get your cue ball to each spot. And then you'll get to the tougher ones,
No problem.
where you'll try to draw it back to the 7, the 14, the 9, and then all the way back in the side pocket. Now, I want to say a little bit about draw, because it's real important. You need to go lower than you think you do.
So you're good.
And the reason that's the case is that it's the top part of the tip that's actually contacting the cue ball. So if you hit it like this, that's not low enough, because the top part of the tip is hitting the center of the ball. So you actually, when you're drawing back to make it more effortless, you have to lower your bridge pretty significantly, way down here. And you'll watch how easy I can hit this and get the cue ball to come back. But this is not adequate, not there. You've got to get it lower down to here. And again, your stroke, your speed of stroke is going to determine how far back it goes. You just move your cue out of the way like that. But I want you to practice drawing a little bit, then longer, then all the way to the backside pocket. And work with your partner on that.
You made it too damn low?
All right.
You ripped the film.
I noticed.
Yeah, don't scoop it.
I notice, well, that's the problem with elevating. A lot of people elevate, and that's where you miss cue because you're punching down on it. And you're hitting, you know, maybe a part of the tip that slips off the cue. If you keep your cue stick level and you're going straight through, you want the stroke to almost lay on the cloth like this. But if you get down up in the back like this and go down, there's no follow through, and it kind of jumps and makes you miscue. So to avoid the miscue, just simply keep the cue a little more level, like that, not like this. Okay? That's good. Don't be afraid of the miscue. Chalk is your friend, right? All right?
Chalk's free.
No, it ain't. $30 a cue.
And just so you
It all
know,
depends on what you buy.
just so you know, there's a proper way to chalk. I usually hold the chalk at 45 degrees, and you only need to chalk the outer part of the tip. So you hold about 45 degrees and just go all the way around like that. You don't have to grind it in there or do it too hard. All right, any questions about those two drills? All right, the other shot, and I showed this one to you the other day, and I want to talk about it real quick. These thin cuts. You know, when you watch people in a tournament and they get a thin cut like this, you know, playing in the corner pocket, which side of the pocket do they usually miss it on, or do you miss it on?
The long side.
Right, yeah. And what's the reason for that, Milt? Why do people miss it over there all the time?
Put the wrong.
Not enough cut. Not enough cut.
Okay, both could be correct. But keep in mind that when you have a cue ball contacting an object ball, the collision has friction, right? So naturally, the friction between the cue ball and the 11 will push it slightly in this direction. But not only that, on every cut shot, you have a bad side and a good side of the pocket. All right, which is which on this shot? Which is the good side? Okay, the good side's here because you hit there, it goes in, right? You hit here, you know.
Down there.
So actually, Tor, a great teacher online that has been doing videos and lessons for years, he says on this shot you purposely overcut slightly, all right, and you're going to make a much higher percentage. So when I get behind the 11 ball in my pre-shot routine, I come back here and I see, well, I'm actually aiming it way over there, all right. So I come back, keep my eye on that. Pre-shot routine, nice and smooth, but I'm going to actually overcut it slightly. And then see it with dead center. And remember, center of the pocket is the outer jaw, so right there is where you're aiming. Okay, any questions about cutting? Yeah.
Could you set up that again,
All right.
but with a more radical?
More radical?
It's not like there.
Oh, even more radical. Okay.
A bit more, almost like 90 degrees.
90 degree. All right, let Milty do it. He'll set it so I can't make it.
He'll kill it, just back there.
All right, you know what? That is not a hard shot. But if I don't purposely overcut this, I'm going to miss it almost every time. You've got to overcut these. Because if I hit this rail over here going in, this is a tight pot. Any part of that rail I hit, it's not going to go, it's going to hang on.
Move
You make it harder for me?
yeah, so you don't have the 7
You don't have that.
to concentrate on.
Yeah. Now you're hitting that middle, right?
Oh yeah, we're not going to get that English for a while, okay? And you know, when you think about it, a shot like this, if you really want to put English, it would make the shot that much harder. Because whenever you use English, the cue ball is either curving or deflecting. Yeah. Okay, find the line. Now the warm-up strokes are key because it'll tell me if I'm perfectly on the target line. And again, I actually tried to overcut it over. All right, you want to go ahead and yeah, go ahead.
For example, here it's fine overcut it goes
Right.
right here, but if it's this short.
Okay, that's a little different. When it's out in space like this, there's going to be a little effect of friction, but I wouldn't get carried away with overcutting these shots. Pretty much you can aim directly at the center. But there is a little bit of friction. So if you do overcut it all, just minutely, not a whole lot. But again, this shot is really important too. It's exactly the opposite of one shot we did. The good side of the pocket is over here, the bad side is over here. So when you get in going this direction, you've got to make sure to overcut to here. Now, mostly what I'm saying is for extreme cuts, very thin cuts. When you get just moderate cuts like this, it's not so important. All right, are you ready to get out there and practice those drills? Or do you have any other questions? Now, we do have 2 bar boxes over here, and then we have these 5 tables. And they're all set up. You can move those little white reinforcers around. But Chuck and I will be coming around to answer questions and help. This one's for Milty because I have it set up for a left-hander. So maybe, whatever. Anyway, have at it.